Hey guys, today we're going to talk about telling time and how you're going to do that. So let's get into it. So first off, you're going to start with questions on how to get the time. So if you want to know what time it is currently, that's what we're going to start with. So you would ask, or you might hear the question, ¿Qué hora es? What time is it? And there's a couple ways to answer it, depending on what the time is. So you'd either say es la or son las, and you got to be able to count to at least 12. So here are your numbers. Una, because you're talking about the hours on the clock. So una, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, ocho, nueve, diez, once, doce. Okay, so remember, es la, son las, and here's what that looks like. Okay, if you have 1 o'clock, for example, you're going to say es la una. And if it's like 1 on the dot, you could say es la una en punto. So en punto means like on the dot. 1:15, you would say es la una y cuarto, es la una y quince. Cuarto means a quarter, like a quarter past 1, and quince is actually 15. For 1:30, you would say es la una y media, or es la una y treinta. Then 1:45, es la, oh, just kidding. It's going to be different because once you get to about 45 or so, then you start referencing the next hour. Kind of like how in English we'll say it's 2:45 or it's 4:45. That is how you tell time in Spanish. You would do it that way. So instead of saying es la una, you have to refer to 2 o'clock. And so that's going to be son las dos menos cuarto, or dos menos quince. And it's singular with 1 o'clock because there's only 1 hour on the clock. So es la una. But then all the other hours are plural. So you got to make ser plural. So son las dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, etc. Right? So let's see. Here's a couple more examples. When you have more than, when it's not 1 o'clock. So for example, 8 o'clock. You would say son las ocho en punto. You don't need the en punto, but you can add it. Or 8:15 would be son las ocho y cuarto. Son las ocho y quince. You have 8:30, which would be son las ocho y media, son las ocho y treinta. You could say media or treinta. They're both fine. It's like 8:30, or 8:30. They both make sense. 8:45. Now remember, you got to reference the next hour. So instead of 8:45, if you think about it literally, you're basically saying it's 9 minus a quarter, or 9 minus 15. So son las 9 menos cuarto, or menos quince. When you're talking about the current time or time in general, there's 3 prepositions you can use. You can use de, en, or por, and you'll hear all 3 of those when you're talking about time. De is for specific times, like at 5 a.m., so a las 5 de la mañana, right? You got de. En is for general times on a specific day, so like tomorrow in the morning. And then por is just for general times, like I'll always eat breakfast in the morning. Not a specific morning, but just generally speaking. Okay, so you got those 3 prepositions, and I'll show you what those look like. We'll start with de. So es la, son las, again, we're talking about what time it is, not at what time things happen, but what time it currently is. So let's look at some of these. For example, to say 6 a.m., well, to say 6 would be son las seis. And then to clarify the a.m. part, the morning part, de la mañana. So son las 6 de la mañana. Another example, 10:15, son las 10:15 o 15 de la mañana. So the whole thing, son las 10:15 de la mañana, or son las 10:15 de la mañana. When you get to the afternoon, you switch to tarde. So 4:30 p.m. would be son las 4:30 or 4:30 de la tarde. That means in the afternoon, that de la tarde part. Then the last one at night or in the evening. So 12:45, remember, when you get close to the next hour, you refer to the next hour. So instead of 12:45, it would be 1:45. So we go back to singular for that one, right? Es la una menos cuarto, or es la una menos quince de la noche. Okay, so that was current time, like when you want to say what time it currently is. When you want to talk about when things happen, which it's not right now, it's some other time, you do it this way, okay? So at a different specific time, you would say a la for the 1 o'clock stuff, and then a las for any other time, okay? So for example, there's 2 questions you might hear to talk about different times, and they can get different answers. So I want to talk about those. You can say a qué hora, and that is requesting a specific time. So like, for example, you might say, a qué hora vas a la escuela? At what time do you go to school? Okay, and you can answer those differently, right? If you say cuándo, that's more just a general when. Okay, it's not necessarily asking for a specific time. You can do a specific time, but you can also be general with that one. So this is what it looks like. So again, at a different specific time, you would do a la for 1 o'clock hour, a las for any other time. So here's two examples. If you say, ¿a qué hora vas a la escuela?, which is at what time do you go to school? It's requesting like a specific time, right? So you'd say, voy a la escuela a las 8 de la mañana. So I go to school at 8 in the morning. Now, if I'm just want to be more general and not necessarily get a specific time, then you could say it this way, ¿cuándo vas a la escuela? Like, when do you go to school? And so you could say, voy a la escuela por la mañana, like I go to school in the morning, and you don't have to give a specific time. You can also give a specific time. You could also say, voy a la escuela a las 8 de la mañana, and that's a perfectly good answer. But with the cuándo, it doesn't always need to be super specific. Whereas with a qué hora, I'm looking for a specific time, okay? So a little bit of review. When you say qué hora es, you're asking for a specific time, right? Like what time is it right now? And you would respond with es la for 1 o'clock and then son las for all the others, right? So es la una, it is 1 o'clock. Son las cinco, it is 5 o'clock. When you're talking about when an event is going to happen or did happen, you would say a qué hora, at what time, right? And so you would respond with an a la for 1 o'clock, a las for all the others. So a la una, a las cinco, and that's telling you when something happens, not what time it is. Now, a lot of people confuse those two, so just keep those two separate in your head. ¿Qué hora es is what time is it? A qué hora is when is something, okay? Okay, so now you know how to tell time. Give it a shot and see if you can say what time it is right now. And then see if you can figure out various times throughout the day. Good luck.